Hey everyone, I'm doing this quick series of videos on how to do some basic things I find very useful when making spreadsheets. I'm doing one on if error, how to return text as well instead of an error message or anything else if you want it to return text, and also how to lock cells correctly, so you can drag and double click on formulas and get it to look up across a variety of columns and rows without having to rewrite the formula every time. So check those out. I'm also going to be referring back to these so that when I'm doing projects or doing a video on a bigger project like how to make a spreadsheet that looks up every player in the NFL and how many receiving yards they get, I don't have to go through these 5-minute explanations within that larger video because I'd rather be 10 minutes than 20 minutes, right? So in lieu of being incredibly entertaining, I at least want to be brief. So here we go. What I'm going to do, and I've got a video on this already somewhere, but again, it's one of those ones that stretched to 20 minutes because I was trying to explain it while explaining other things. Vlookup is, I find, the easiest or the simplest and so far the most versatile in my experience, in my basic experience of how to look up different values. With fantasy football, there's some easy references here. If I want to know the number of games that Todd Gurley played in any given year, then I'm going to need to search a larger database. For example, you can download the FS Statistics database over here, just by going to FS Statistics, clicking on database, and then you select your position and you download the database, and it gives you all this wonderful information, but it's a lot, right? And you don't want to have to look along every column and every row to find the right numbers. So VLOOKUP is one way to fix that. So the formula itself looks like this: just VLOOKUP, value lookup, look up that value, right? You say what you want it to look it up, so you tell it which cell what you're trying to look up is, and then you select the range or where the numbers are you're asking it to look up, where the FS statistic database is, essentially, and then you tell it which column you want it to actually look up. So you need the values you're looking up in the up-down columns, and you need the answers to be in the lefty-righty columns, right? You also need a 0 at the end. You can put a 1, but again, where this isn't a how to Excel, it's just how to make a sheet so you can easily access fantasy football information channel. We don't need to go into true and false values so much. Just always use a 0 if you're just trying to use VLOOKUP to look up something simple like games or receiving yards or anything else. Okay, so what does that look like? You put an equal sign, obviously, to activate any formula. VLOOKUP and bracket, open bracket. I want it to look up Todd Gurley, and I want it to look up Todd Gurley in this database from FS Statistics. So I select the entire database just because I might want to look up any of those values, so I select all of it. And again, just to skip along instead of having to drag when it's as big as an FS Statistics database, you just push and hold Control and Shift and then push the direction arrow which way you want to go. I'm going to lock the cells. Again, look up that video to understand that. Just by pushing F4 it locks the cells. And I want it to look up games, which I've already put a count in here to help me out. I know games is column 13, so I want it to look at the 13th column for every player name I give it, and then that 0 so it returns the actual value, the true value. Push enter, and it's looking up Todd Gurley in column 13. He did not play 279 games. Oh, I know what I've done. Sorry. You can also adjust it, and you should if you're using the FS Statistic database, by what year, right? Because Todd Gurley is in here a lot. There's 3 or 4 Todd Gurley rows. So I want it to only look up one in any given year. And to do that, I added a separate column. So this row count is off. It's actually the 12th column from just pure name. So if I change that to 12, now it's telling me Todd Gurley played 15 games in 2017, which is accurate. It's not going to be accurate all the time, however, because some of these players didn't play in 2017. Back further. Oh, where's my screen gone? Sorry. Eddie George certainly didn't play in 2017, and yet he's got 14 games. Because again, I haven't taught it to only look up players in any given year. We're at 5 minutes, so I'll leave it there. Again, sticking to the quick hit. That's just how to use Vlookup very simply. You can look up any value in any column in any database. And so I don't want to make it any more complicated. Just do a quick hit. That's how you simply use a VLOOKUP formula. And the minute you get this, then we can start to make it more complicated. Like, how do we make sure it's looking up the right name in the right year? And I've done that, and I'll keep doing that in other videos. But it's a good idea to get some practice with this, because it's one of the main ways you can reorganize and resort data and information into different sheets. So VLOOKUP, the cell you want it to look up, in this case a player's name, and then you just select the area that you want it to look it up in, and then you have to know which column the actual answer is, in this case games, and then a 0. I should probably mention that the area that you select has to have that value you're looking up. That's why I selected it from player name instead of my helper column over here. The first cell you select, the first column you select, has to have the values you're looking up. So if I actually wanted to look up ages and games, for example, I could do that if I wanted to look up at someone at age 23, but I'd have to change the range that I've told it to look up in. I'd have to change it from age to games, and then the count changes from again from 13, 12, so it'll be the 11th column. And then again you just select the whole area, lock it in, and it will return it. Hang on. I selected the wrong area again. 11th column. Yeah, it's the 11th, not the 12th, remember. So yeah, then again you could look up ages or numbers or any other values, but you do have to remember, you do have to make sure that the value you're looking up is going to exist in that first column that you select in the range. So that's the other maybe tricky part to it. Alright, thanks very much. 7 minutes. I'll give myself a pass on the last two because VLOOKUP is actually pretty important. Alright, thanks for checking it out. Talk to you again next time.